One of These Nights was inspired by B.B. King, the Spinners, and Al Green when Glenn Frey started writing it at the piano. Written by Don Henley and Glenn Frey. Don Henley called this one of the hardest vocals he ever recorded. Coming up on Rock Music History Lesson. Frey said that he and Henley, one of the examples they clicked as songwriters, he said in an interview with Tavis Smiley, quote, "I'd go over to the piano and say, 'Hey, what do you think of this?' I'd play something and he'd go, 'Yeah, I like that, I like that.' Maybe just get up and start singing. That's the way we wrote One of These Nights. I just went over to the piano and I started playing this little minor descending progression. And he comes over and goes, 'One of these nights?' I go, 'Yeah, yeah,'" unquote. What is One of These Nights about? In an interview from 1975 with Phonograph Record, Frey explained, quote, "It's like putting things off. Everybody, I'm sure, has said, 'One of these nights I'm gonna drive back to that restaurant and take that waitress in my arms,' whatever. Find that girl, make that money, buy that house, move to that country, any of that stuff. Everyone's got his ultimate dream, saving it for someday, and someday is up to you," unquote. Don Felder at the time was the band's newest guitar player. He came up with that great opening bass line because bassist Randy Meisner was stuck in Nebraska because of the snow. In an interview with Guitar Player, he said, quote, "I decided I'm going to play bass because it would sound weird without a bass. So I start playing and write that bass line for the song. When Randy came, I had to sit down and show him how to play it. I usually write the bass parts on all my songs, but I don't play them," unquote. Felder also came up with a guitar solo. The right guitar solo can make or break a rock song. So when Felder wrote the signature guitar solo for One of These Nights, a lot was riding on this. Since the beginning, the Eagles had a country rock sound. In a 1975 Rolling Stone interview, Don Henley said, quote, "With Don Felder, we can really rock. He's made us nastier, and he's done a great guitar solo on One of These Nights," unquote. Henley also said, quote, "My voice has to be just right to hit the high notes. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't," unquote. The record was their very last to feature the original lineup of Randy Meisner, Bernie Leadon, Glenn Frey, and Don Henley. The album also featured Don Felder when he first joined the band. After the promotional tour for the album, Leadon left and was replaced by Joe Walsh. Leadon was allegedly unhappy with the transition from country rock to more of a rock sound. Also, the rock and roll lifestyle adopted by the band created additional strain. Two other singles released from the One of These Nights album, "Lion Eyes" and "Take It to the Limit." At the time, the album One of These Nights was their best-selling. Then in 1976, Hotel California. But in 1976, album sales was growing at such a fast rate that a new platinum ranking, meaning 1 million copies, was introduced by the RIAA. The first album to receive the platinum status was the Eagles' Greatest Hits, 1971 to 1975. As of this recording, it is the best-selling album of all time in America, selling over 40 million copies, outselling Michael Jackson's Thriller. The album and the single One of These Nights climbed to number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 charts in 1975. Glenn Frey said in the liner notes for the Eagles' 2003 The Very Best of compilation that One of These Nights is his favorite Eagles song. Sadly, Glenn Frey died on January 18, 2016. He was 67. Randy Meisner died July 26, 2023. He was 77. If you'd like to hear One of These Nights by the Eagles, click the link in the description box. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Check out our website, rockmusichistorylesson.com. Thanks for watching Rock Music History Lesson. I'm K.W. Keene.